If you can motivate yourself to start producing revision materials now, you'll be saving yourself a much more overwhelming job later. Here are some suggestions for revision techniques. Flashcards can be physical or electronic, using an app or even a Word document, whatever works. You can often find them online, but actually making your own is an important part of revision because the process helps to get it stuck in your head too. The simplest kind of flashcard involves writing a word on one side and its definition on the other, but you could put processes, questions, or other larger concepts on too. The important thing is to revisit them. Make yourself 4 boxes, one for cards that should be revisited every day, one for every 2 days, one for each week, and one for each month. To start with, all new cards go into the everyday box. Now, on Monday, read through these cards and test yourself. Any definitions you get right can go into the every 2 days box, while those you get wrong go back into the everyday box. On Tuesday, you repeat this. On Wednesday, you go through the everyday, but you also go through the every 2 days box. Any you get right from that should go into the every week box. Any that you get wrong can either go into the everyday box or leave them in the every 2 days box. It's up to you. I use this technique for learning languages, and I usually drop them back a step, but try it out for yourself so you'll make it your own that way. You should choose 1 day a week to go over the weekly box and 1 day a month to go through the monthly box. The idea of it is that the words you find most challenging are the ones you see most often, while those you find easiest are just revisited once in a while. Please feel free to adjust this plan. Taking ownership of it makes it more likely to work. Summarising is something you should try to lean into the most. Let's take page 3 as an example, page 3 from your textbook. Read through the work, highlighting the bits you think are the most important. Notice that I'm missing out chunks because textbooks often put in context that helps you understand, but isn't necessary to remember by itself. You should then rewrite the highlighted information, but try to shrink it. You don't have to use the same words or layout. In fact, the more you make it your own, the better. I often use symbols like the one for proportional to, which looks like a figure 8 on its side with the bottom missing, or an infinity symbol with the end missing, or little arrows. Diagrams are great for this. You can choose to try and shrink your notes to a certain number of words or to a certain space. Maybe try to fit a particular topic onto a flashcard. Over time, you might want to go back to your summaries and shrink them even further once you feel more comfortable with the vocabulary. Use one scientific word in the place of several explanatory words if you can. Mind maps are great for topics that have many equally important concepts attached to them, like this one about hydrogen bonding. So you start with your central concept and then try to separate it into important subheadings. Then add information to each of these subheadings, but try not to write too much. A word or two to trigger off your memory is much better than rewriting the textbook. You've already got that. Diagrams are also better than words. The idea is to make all of this information easy to digest at a glance. Colour is a great resource to use here, more than any of the others. I often use a different colour for each branch of a mind map to keep them separate. At the end of the day, the key thing about all revision techniques is to A, shrink the information down, use as few words as possible. You just want memory keys which will open up more detail in the exam. B, repeat. That's why we're getting you to do this now. We're more likely to remember something if we see it more often. Finally, C, review. By which I mean go back over your revision materials periodically, discard the ones that don't serve you anymore, rewrite that old summary, even smaller, replace a sentence in a mind map with a diagram or acronym. Research has shown that people who engage with the content are more likely to remember it, and the better you remember something, the more likely you are to be able to apply it in exam questions.